Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us on this week's podcast of Mums on Cloud 9. We're delighted to have you here this week, and we are delving into how to use AI for well-being and self-care. It's a topic that actually has hit the headlines a few times about how good or bad it is for you. There's certainly benefits that we're going to be exploring today, but also ways of just being conscious around how you use AI and perhaps some of the negative impacts that come from that, or some of the things maybe not negative, but areas to just be aware of, and to sort of navigate how you use it consciously. So we're going to be delving into some of those things today. I think it's a really interesting area in that actually there's a lot of people using AI for wellbeing and self-care. There's some research that shows 1 in 3 people are using it to help them navigate health and mindfulness activities, and they're researching or using it. I think one of the biggest areas people are using it for is not necessarily saving time in some aspects, but also about creating new habits and getting guidance and advice on things. And one of the reasons for that, I think, obviously, from a positive side, is that quite often people don't seek the help they need for well-being because price can be a barrier for many people if it isn't available through doctors, etc. Quite a lot of mental health well-being advice is something that you need to pay for. And I think one of the benefits, if it's used in the right way or the right tools, and we'll be coming on to, all of these things in this conversation, is making sure that you're using the right tools, navigating the ones that will give you support and advice, but actually, they can be a very beneficial thing if it helps you sort of improve your well-being. So we'll explore that today. We are delighted to have a special guest with us as well. So we've got Mitra Memarzia available to discuss all of this with, who's one of our experts on AI. And she is founder of Wellcast, which is an AI tool that I'll let her tell you more about in a moment. So excited to have you here, Mitra. Do you want to share with everybody a little bit about your journey so far?
Sure, great. Well, thank you for having me, first of all. As Heather said, I'm the CEO and co-founder at Wellcast. Wellcast hasn't been launched yet, so just to kind of say that we're going to be fully launching in September. We'll be shortly kind of coming out with a soft launch in the new year. But essentially, what Wellcast is, the best way to describe it is it's a Spotify for fitness. So if you think about it right now, fitness apps are everywhere. We've had a whole influx, I think post-COVID especially, where people kind of realize actually it's not just the Davina McCall videos. Actually, there's a whole world out there of experts, and essentially you can get a great workout in your own home and also take it to the gym. So you've got the apps that came out of that, and then you've also got lots and lots of content which is on YouTube, Instagram, and also TikTok. But these are all clickbait. A lot of them, you don't really know if that's a real expert behind it. So what we're doing with Wellcast is we're curating the best experts onto one platform. So from your perspective, you just pay one subscription, you get access to everybody. And as Heather said, the AI aspect is Coach W, we're calling it at the moment, gets to know you. So it's the AI coach that gets to know you and your goals on a daily basis, even if they change. So, for example, if you have a bad night's sleep or you've injured your knee, you can say, hey, today I need a different kind of workout. I just need upper body, or I just need to move. I just need 10 minutes to just de-stress. And it will find the content for you. So you're not having to sit there and sift through it. So yeah, really excited about it. There isn't currently anything out there in the market like it. So we're really excited to come out with it in the new year.
Well, that's very exciting. Always good to launch a new idea. And actually, it's a prime time to be doing it right now with all the benefits of it. So we'll do a little bit more of a deep dive into your product as we go through the podcast. But what would be great for us to just go around the table with, and we'll start with yourself, Mitra, as well, is how you've used AI in your personal life, for well-being and self-care. Let's just explore some of those areas for a moment.
Sure, yeah. Of course, from my own personal perspective, I think I've got really into creating different agents within Chat GPT. And by that, what I mean is you can create a sort of almost like a walled garden of sort of expertise that you want that particular agent, or let's say a persona, to do for you. So, for example, just recently I created one which was a female hormone specialist that also works with athletes. I do a lot of working out, so fitness, and I'm going through perimenopause. So HRT and everything is happening right now. So I wanted to be able to ask questions and at least gain knowledge that I could then take to my GP to fast forward some of the things that would have taken a long time to do. So from that aspect, it's been amazing. But then also using it in other ways. I think for me, one of the biggest things is I have a lot of ideas and things in my head, and often just being able to dump it down through actual voice. So I don't even type anymore. I just talk to my chat GPT all the time. That's probably the one that I use the most. And then I'm able to organize all of the thoughts in a way that I can then action. So I think for me, that really helps on a daily basis. So I do it every single morning where I come in. The first thing that I do is I just go through all the things that I want to do for the day. And then I kind of put it into order of priority, and I look at my diary, and it's just this great way to just release all of that and then have a clear head so I can get going. But lots of other places as well. But this is probably the things that I do with it the most on a daily basis.
Oh, I love that. I really need to get into the video, the audio element rather than
Oh,
writing.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
love
great.
that. How did you learn how to build agents?
Just through curiosity. I think that's what I would say to anybody listening to this or watching this is just be curious and just get started. I think there isn't really anything to it. It's the same as, when emails first started coming out, I put my hand up. I was one of the people, early days when my brother said to me, look, you can now send a letter to our parents, but just digitally, and they receive it straight away. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And that curiosity gets you going. So I think just be curious, get one of the free platforms, use the free version, and then go from there. And I think with the agents, it's really super simple. I mean, these things are made so intuitive. You just basically just add a GPT, you give it its parameters. You can also even upload any documents. So you might be doing some work with your kids, for example, if they've got homework and it has to fit within a certain framework, you can put that in and make sure that it doesn't go beyond that. And you can give it very strict kind of guidelines around how you want them to work. And I think those are some of the things that maybe some people are not delving into. They're just kind of using it as a way to just edit, copy, or write emails. But there's just so many things that you can do with it.
Absolutely. Did you do any training courses to know how to sort of do that agent, or did you ask ChatGPT how
ChatGPT to
to do it?
teach me. Well, actually, that is the thing that you can also do. You can ask and say, look, how best should I prompt? I'm trying to do this thing. Tell me how best should I prompt? But also within ChatGPT now, there is a whole load of world of agents that people have created as well. So you can kind of find a law expert, or you could find a designer, or you could find. So lots of people have already created these. And actually, right now, we're pitching for. We're doing a fundraise. And one of the investors that I'm pitching to sent me his agent, and he said, put your deck through this, see what comes back. And actually, it's really useful because it's everything that he would say came through, and it was just really handy. And it's this great way and he said, look, take it with a pinch of salt, of course. But ultimately, I think there's lots of ways that you could even do that. You can kind of create a version of yourself. So I have one which is in my tone, and I use it for writing emails. If I'm writing a LinkedIn post, it's got everything that I've always kind of done. All of my previous kind of posts that I've written are all in there. So it kind of completely understands how to copy my tone of voice, which is really useful.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Kelly, over to you. You're a big fan of agents and cloning things. Any questions for Mitra, and you just want to share your own experience?
So in terms of my own experience, I mean, yeah, I have a lot of separate mini GPTs and projects and agents, and I've got one set up for my son. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of supplements will work for him. He's got autism, so from the beginning, I've just filled it with data, medical records. I mean, it probably has my whole details, which is not the best practice, but I've just put everything from his birth up until now and added everything to it. So it does give me special like vitamins that are going to work for his body and things like that. And I use those in a combination every morning because he's got fussy eating. So I'm quite meticulous with it, and I do add to it every day to keep feeding it that data. And just kind of growing it. So it's called Beyond the Forest because my son's name's Forest.
Yeah.
And I literally just keep adding to it. So it does give me a lot of tips of new supplements to buy, where to get the best prices for them are. So it's a whole situation. I've got one for myself as well because I'm constantly tired and I'm constantly out of energy and I haven't got time to do like exercise or fitness and those kind of things. So I'm more interested in finding out about what you're doing and how that's going to really work with me being so busy with work, being so busy as an autism mum and as a mum in general, as a wife, and I've got no time well, that I'm aware of, to actually go out and like maybe go for a run or do something. And I buy all the equipment. I've got running machines, I've got dumbbells, I've got sandbags. It just sits in the second living room as decoration.
Yeah, you just
So
need the guidance. You just need the guidance, and
that's
they're
what I'm
in
looking
the right
for.
way for you. Yeah, personalised. Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, tell me a bit about what the app's gonna do in terms of people with busy lifestyles and
Yeah.
fitting these things in.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things, obviously, with an onboarding, the same as you would go to a gym, when you've got a coach will kind of talk through, well, what kind of lifestyle do you have? And, what's your diet like? And what's your goal? What is it that you want to achieve? How many days a week can you commit to? Which days, maybe, if you might say, look, I've got a little slot on these days, and you can kind of put them in terms of accountability, it will then create for you a program. But that program is not rigid. And I think that's the thing at the moment with a lot of the apps that are out there, is once you're on a program, so it's 3 days a week, upper body, lower body, full body, like you've got to do these things. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what if I can't that day? So how do I replace that with some move? So I think that's the thing with this, and I think that's the exciting thing with AI and all the tools that we have, is that we can create a system that can just shift and change the way that you need it to, as you go through, and it can just recalibrate. So you might just say, look, I'm ill this week completely. I can't, but I'm stressed. Okay, let's do some breath work. We're going to do just some gentle movement. Okay, if it's a head cold, we're gonna avoid doing these things, but you're gonna do these things. And because everything can be tagged, then it's a really smart way for you. You don't have to then think, well, I've now got to go to this massive list of workouts and trainers and find something that's right. The system will automatically do that for you. And it's all voice activated, because it's kind of like, I think we're all going to get much more used to voice activating everything. I mean, I've got Hue lights at home. So Alexa turns off all the different rooms. I've got different settings and as many things that I can put on, because then I don't have to go around at the end of the night and turn off all the little mini lights around the house.
Yeah.
I can just turn off the entire house with one command. And all these things are just time saving, right? They're time saving, and they allow you to spend that time on other things that matter more.
I tend to walk into rooms, or when I go away, I'm like, where's Alexa?
Yeah, exactly.
I need to talk to Alexa. But it's interesting, my go-to isn't to talk into the AI tools yet. So I need to learn that as a habit, I think, because my daughter, who's 9, doesn't think twice about, talking into it. And so she says to me now, why do I need to write? I can talk. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I don't need to write, mummy. I don't need to
I
think
still
about
do that. I
it.
still type it out as well, and I'm not. For me, it's not natural. I'm
No,
not
I
good at
do
expressing
too.
myself, so it's not natural for me. So I
I
can
know.
type faster than I think.
Yeah, I gave you that challenge today, though, didn't I? That was part of our work task, is to voice into it rather than write, to save time.
Honestly, what you will, once you start, you won't want to stop then, because also it's just this really naturalistic way. So you kind of almost just, if it's almost like, it's like a colleague that you're giving instructions, someone that is working with you. You can, you're just chatting to them. So you say, I want you to do this and do this. Now I want you to do and because you're kind of able to just talk through it, you can kind of put all the nuances in, and you're not sort of self-editing. So you can just go. I mean,
I have to
obviously
work
there's
on
a
that
limit.
more.
You don't want to be just like talking forever. But it also helps you to become more succinct, I think, with just your speech as well, which I quite like.
Yeah, so it's and getting it out and voicing. You say when you're, if we're talking about well-being, and we talk about AI in lots of ways, but actually well-being, a lot of it can be locked in our throat, right? We're locked here, we can't breathe, and that's sort of where I've felt it when I felt stressed. So actually using your voice to talk through, particularly if you're on, with a coach where you're like, I need some advice, what shall I do? Voicing it is actually a really good therapeutic exercise. And I think some people like apps. There was some apps that I was looking at as part of the research today, like Ebb, which has been launched by Headspace, and there was a couple of other ones as well. Is there actually that sort of AI therapist approach? And obviously with some of these you've got to navigate. We'll probably delve into that a little bit more. With people who say can't afford to pay and see a counsellor or coach, some of these tools, and also it feels confidential and safe in that way. They're not talking to a real person. It feels like they can perhaps voice things more readily. So I think it is a good therapeutic exercise, to say, to sort of get it out. Lyn, what about you?
Yeah. So I think for me, I mean, obviously one of my favourite topics is the health side of ChatGPT is my go-to every single day. I need to learn more of the talking bit. the same as you're saying, but I think it's so important to set up individual clones. And one thing that a little tip that I would give is every time you want to ask something different, make sure you start a new chat because it's remembering. Obviously, if you start talking about something to do with forest amongst something to do with menopause, for example, it's going to cross over. So I think it's important to make sure every time you completely start a new chat. Projects are amazing. Clones, like you've all said, really. I mean, having your own clone for each different topic is so important. I tend to follow keto. So when we're talking about health and well-being, I've got my own keto clone that I've got all the information in. So if I wanted to do something specific for food, then it already knows me and it already knows what I like and what I don't like. So I think, having, as Kelly rightly said, being careful, of course, not to include names and things like that. I know, we cover that off with GDPR, but making sure that you put as much in terms of files and documents within your clone, that it's got something to keep referring back to. So I think it's, what you're telling us today is great. I mean, can you elaborate a little bit more on, you mentioned about your business model being clone. I've got clone on the brain. Coach W. Can you elaborate a bit more on that, please?
Yeah. So essentially Coach W is like your concierge, so it's kind of like, I sort of refer to Coach W as your front of house, your best kind of, wellness expert that's there just for you and gets to know you. So every time you speak to Coach W, we're building in the background that clone of you, in fact. And that also forms this other part of one of the kind of other innovations within Wellcast is we've got this thing that we're developing, which we're calling the halo at the moment. Because I really like this idea of this halo you try and keep it nice and round. And the point of it is that we want to get people to really approach their wellness and fitness from a 360-degree kind of perspective. So if you're going all out and you're doing loads and loads of cardio, you're not doing any recovery, your halo is going to be like a bit misshaped. It's going to have a little bulge coming out the side. So what we want to do really is create this space where you're given the opportunity to have this real sustainable approach to your fitness, because I think there's so many fads out there. 1 minute we're being told you got to lift heavy, next minute it's like you got to run low heart rate, then it's something else, and it's something else. But actually the most important thing actually is to really have a real kind of balanced approach to it. Yes, do some strength, do some recovery, make sure you've got recovery, get your heartbeat up. Yeah, that's important too. Nutrition. So it's all of those things. And that's the only way I think really that kind of whole longevity chase, it's just all about balance. So that's another part of it where we're kind of we're creating this almost like a digital version of you. I don't know if you remember the Tamagotchis.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I do.
Kind of the halo is like a
childhood.
Tamagotchi. So you can see visually, I'm a bit out of balance. I haven't taken any time, any time out. I'm constantly doing strength training and I'm not doing any cardio or I'm not recovering. So it's kind of creating a version of you, but then also we're comparing that version of you to all the others that are like you and going, oh, okay, well, look, they seem to be enjoying this kind of workout. So maybe we'll recommend this. And, in the same way as I guess, I don't think Netflix does it very well, because I think with Netflix, what's happened with the recommendation is because they have Netflix originals, they just push that out. Whereas with Wellcast, we'll never create our own content. So we will always remain, kind of, I guess, neutral. And really, it's about bringing the right workout and the right expert, the right trainer to you, matching up the user to the experience, which is where I think, again, it's important, because we don't want to be pushing. If Joe Wicks comes on our platform, we're not going to suddenly push Joe Wicks in everyone's face. We're only going to, recommend him to the right people where it kind of makes sense for them. So yeah, it's kind of personalization, and then also just kind of getting to know you for your sake rather than, for any other kind of reasons.
Yeah, I love the personalization. I couldn't even say it then. Alongside, as you said, every day is different, every week is different, and making sure that everyone is on the right page at the right time of their life, as well as their, as their week. I think that's really important. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was wondering also, so it just sparked my interest. How do you keep people what's the plan to keep them motivated and coming back? Is there notifications or things saying you've got to do this now? Because I'm the kind of person, anything gets pushed on the
I
back
love
burner.
that.
There's always something else that's
Yeah.
more important than something else at the
Yeah,
time.
that was my question. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, funnily enough, just yesterday I was working with our designer on the scheduling. Ideally, what we want to do is kind of get people to at least commit to, look, I'm going to do 3 days a week of workouts, and these are the times I think I can do them. So depending on the type of person you are, if you're like a real planner and you quite like that, the option is there to like even put a time, and then you will get a prompt to say, hey, your workout, like you're meant
I need to be told, you
That's
get up and stop what you're doing, get up
Exactly.
and dance or
And then
something.
also obviously the gamification side of things. So the halo, you're going to really want to nurture that halo because you can see it physically. And over time, we really want that to become this really ownable kind of shareable thing that you're like, hey, look at my halo looks awesome. Look at this. It's like, it's round, it looks perfect. It's got all these beams coming out of it. And it becomes this kind of fun, almost thing to be proud of that you can share. But it also it's not about reaching a PB, and it's not pushing everyone to, because I think again with sort of fitness industry tends to, I mean, I've been in it a long time, and it's such a faddy, it goes through all sorts of things. And I was doing high rocks loads just when it first came out, and I've just come out of that realizing that it's not what my body needs right now. Sort of going through perimenopause, certainly it just doesn't feel that great to push too much. So I think it's that thing of just really educating people, I think, around making it firstly really easy. So when you turn on the app, it'll be your workout of the day will be there. And it's just there, full screen, staring at you, like press play, let's go. And you get to swipe 3 times. If you don't like that one, swipe again. And then by the 3rd time, Coach W will pipe up and be like, hey, Ken, like, are we not getting this today? And you can say, do you know, I don't like any of these. I actually just, I actually need something more up tempo. This is too easy, or whatever it is that you need. So it's that thing of just helping you to get to the thing as quickly as possible, removing that barrier, and then ultimately giving you the best experience, with the best coaches that are out there. So, and hopefully that'll make you want to come back.
Lovely.
Swipe right, swipe left reminds me of dating. It's gonna
Yeah, it's a bit, yeah. Except we haven't got flat, we've just got one side. You just
Yeah, I love that. I think, I really echo your journey, Mitra, on the perimenopause thing. The thing is, I've been used to, I created that habit of, doing Peloton, doing swimming, having that routine. And then the perimenopause hit in, I'm like, oh God, completely lost all my energy, ebbed and flowed. So I used AI apps to kind of monitor what was going on for me, as you say, to kind of be able to educate and talk to HRT advisors, the doctor, etc., to go, right, on these months I'm dipping or not. So you can use these apps to track everything, which is great. But I think what I love, by the sounds of what you're creating is, you can say to it, this is where I am right now. What is the best workout? Because again, I've had personal trainers back in the day, and obviously you don't want to impact that. I think, them, I felt always like they're taking a dog out for a walk with me. I'm like, yeah, come on, I'm ready for my walk now. But it's expensive, isn't it, to have personal trainers?
Yeah.
And, obviously that sector might be hit by AI, in those agents, but again, they can have them to support their clients and to give a more full round of their clients. But I think tools like yours, make it more cost effective. Hopefully the whole, there's a massive population that don't access personal trainers, that don't work out. Kelly is one of those busy mums. There's loads of busy mums out there that just need the extra bit of motivation. So I love the fact that the app can just keep you nudging.
Yeah. And also the app is bringing you actual personal trainers workout. So it's their video. So in essence, I think like the human element in Wellcast is really important, because I think at the end of the day, people still want to connect with people, especially when it comes to your wellness. You do want that. You kind of, we gravitate towards a trainer or an expert who's had life experience. Maybe they've gone through things that maybe, you aspire to kind of what they've achieved. And their expertise matters. So I think, helping them to have another way to monetize, their expertise through obviously videos, but then they can also list any other things that they do on the app as well. So you can basically follow a trainer, and it could be that they also offer online one-to-ones, or even they might have a retreat coming up that you want to go on, and they might do, a specialized program for you. So we're making sure that we're supporting those individuals, those experts, and we're not kind of outdoing them. But what we're doing is getting them in front of more people, and allowing them to reach a wider audience than they would if they were trying to make it through YouTube or making their own app, which
I
is
love that. Yeah, it's really hard. Well, I was speaking to a lady who hopefully will have on the podcast at some point, but she specializes in yoga for perimenopause and antenatal. And when I go onto my Peloton, it has all yoga, but it's not those specialist pelvic floor exercises and everything else. And I was like, so to have all those experts that specialize in perimenopausal things, that's where you've got that. It sounds like I'm very excited.
And there's place for them on Wellcast, exactly. So it's kind of really, it's we want to have as many different experts so that we can hyper personalize for whoever comes in onto the platform, and then later kids as well. So definitely want to have the whole age group from whenever they can literally jump around.
There's lots of shiny good things about all of this, but what are some of the concerns that people have out there, in terms of AI? Mitra, have you got views on how to sort of obviously be conscious about how you use it and where some of the lines can be drawn?
Yeah, I think obviously, if an app like Headspace is creating something, they're creating it responsibly, and they're putting, they're making sure obviously that the resources are reputable. And again, I really agree with you, Heather. I think there's definite great things about being able to. I think when you talk to an AI agent, sometimes maybe you would even say things that you wouldn't say to a human, just because it kind of feels even more confidential, especially if that information is not being kept on you and it's in the moment. So I think those are some of the great things. But the things to watch out for, just in general, even when you're doing research, if you're looking for, I don't know, percentage of, I don't know, let's say young people who drink alcohol these days, you want to do some research for, and it just comes out with something, not to just lift that off and use it. But obviously when it comes to your wellness, I think it's just making sure that you are, asking it to go to reputable sources. And I'm sure, Kelly, you will know this inside out. So I'm sure you've done that with your GPT. Is just making sure that you are. And then ultimately, I think, and with ChatGPT, with all of them, what they all say is, do not take this as, medical advice. Like, you need to still go and I think to just remember that, not to kind of fully self-diagnose. And it's the same thing with, when we used to go into sort of Google Doom search, when you sort of find the mole on your arm and then you're just like, oh my God, this is cancer. So it's that thing of just being aware of, you could be going down a rabbit hole. So don't listen to everything it's saying, but just use it as a way to explore and then be a bit more informed. And then it goes
easy to use your prompt as well, aren't you? You're only as good as the question you ask, and obviously make sure that the question you're asking is clear and concise. Obviously by talking, not by typing. But I think it's important to do that, because if you don't put the right information in, you're not going to get the right information out, are you?
Yeah, and then I guess the other thing to watch out for, which we're going to see a lot more, is obviously AI generated videos, and there's a lot of fakes out there now in all sorts of different scenarios. So I think kind of being aware of that. Like, one of my friends sent me a video of this sort of guru kind of giving life advice on, and she was like, "Oh, this is amazing," and he actually had loads of followings on Instagram, but it was completely fake. Every single, I looked at it and I sent her a message back and I said, this is fake. This is totally fake. This person doesn't exist. Look at the video and look at how he is in each one. Right now, you can tell. So I think if you're like, but they are going to become a lot more prevalent across everything. I mean, I'm seeing it on LinkedIn where I've got fake people, connecting with me. I'm kind of like looking at them and going, that's not a real person there. Even if they've used a filter, that's not real, and that's not. So I think just being aware of the fact that it's kind of feeding into so many other areas, and especially if you've got kids, just to be sort of aware of obviously the types of stuff that they'll be exposed to as well, and just making them aware that these things are going to be everywhere.
Well, we're always looking at some of the apps, and we'll share some of these on our blog, on our website, so go and check those out. But they all, it's interesting, the ones I looked at all say we're backed by science. Because I guess that's where they're sort of creating that safe harbor of like, we are backed by science. What we're doing is giving support. I think there's been some cases, I've certainly seen things in the press, is like where, if advice has been given, there's probably disclaimers there as well, obviously, to warrant it. And there was a very influential chap, where he was very adamant about not using AI for emotional, personal stuff, because he said AI isn't emotional and personal from that point of view. But I guess if you're creating with these apps, because if they will have fed it lots of science and will have fed it the information, I guess my trust is, okay, well, if they've fed it all of this science information, a lot of background, it's there for you, and it's curated, like it's a curated coach and their info. Whereas if you were just using an LMM model for some of this stuff, it's not got all of that background and that tailored approach. So I think, rather than just using a broad LMM model, it's probably better using a tool that's been set up with that science and with those experts behind it, because the knowledge that you're going to be getting is actually fueled by those experts and knowledge. So I can understand where it's always about, you talk about safety rails, and certainly because we work in the Salesforce industry, Salesforce always advocate, their AI within the Salesforce space is got these guardrails. It's secure. It's not going out to the world where people can lie to you, where it's giving you false information, because the reality is you can get false and it can lie. I don't like to think that. I was like, why would it lie to me? But that's the reality. Whereas if within these apps, yes, you quite often have to pay for them, but they've set up all those guardrails and it's very, specific to all those things. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, for all of these areas and what we've covered. So we'll kind of cap it off there. We've been chatting for half an hour. We could go on forever. I want to know, like, how have you built the app? How have you, all of these things in business? So for anybody listening, if you want to connect with Mitra, go and connect with her. What's the best channel to connect with you on?
LinkedIn is probably a good place. There is only one Mitra Memarzia, sort of happens to be in the world, actually. So if you find me, that is me, or someone faking me. So it could be a deep fake of me. Wow. But yeah, happy to connect with anyone interested in the space that I'm working in general. And yeah, if anyone's listening and you're a coach as well, a fitness expert, get in touch, because we are onboarding our first cohort now. So
brilliant. Thank you, Mitra. But really excited for your launch. Looking forward to learn more about everything that you're doing and seeing the launch. Really interesting conversation today. I think, as Lyn said, refer friends to some of these AI tools. Obviously recommendation might, unless you've used it yourself, you can't recommend necessarily. But I think, if you're seeing somebody in need, particularly men, I think there's a lot of men in our life that don't necessarily get the support they need.
Have one.
They're the worst, right? Hence why male suicidal rates are, the highest for men. Do refer them to these apps where they might feel more comfortable to talk to people, because I think it's really important we make awareness of these things, and that's what we're about at Super Mums. So thank you very much for sharing all your views today, Kelly, Lyn, Mitra.
Thanks for having me. It's been great. Really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all on the next show.